Amish communities in North America live by strict rules that shape nearly every aspect of life, including transportation. While mainstream Americans embrace the automobile's speed and convenience, the Amish deliberately reject car ownership as a community-wide principle. This policy is rooted not in a belief that cars are evil, but in a desire to preserve traditional community ties and a humble, slow-paced lifestyle. As one Amish leader candidly put it, owning a car will lead us to where we don't want to go, pulling families apart and weakening local church communities. In practice, no Amish church allows baptized members to own or drive a car or hold a driver's license. Instead, Amish people rely on a range of alternative transportation methods that keep them connected to their rural congregations. The Amish avoid automobiles primarily to protect their close-knit community life. Cars bring mobility and speed that the Amish fear could fragment their society. As one Amish publication explained, the free use of cars pulls families apart, making it too easy to travel into cities and detach from local churches. Similarly, an Amish leader argued that cars are luxury and status symbols of style and convenience that ruin tightly woven communities, tempt people with worldly distractions, and introduce new moral risks by enabling travel away from home. In practical terms, cars promise individual freedom, but threaten the Amish ideal of equality, face-to-face neighborliness, and rural family life. The Amish believe that unrestricted car travel would erode local bonds. By staying in the neighborhood, Amish families can care for each other, hold weekly church and social visits, and build trust. By bringing greater mobility, cars would pull the community apart, eroding local ties, writes one Amish studies expert. Cars are seen as fostering pride and vanity. Amish doctrine warns that letting people chase status through vehicles would undermine the community's values. Instead of fast, individual travel, Amish prefer slow, shared movement. Fast vehicles introduce safety and moral concerns. Some Amish leaders argue that moral temptations increase in direct relation to speed, and that cars' high speed is inherently dangerous. Avoiding cars also means staying in environments where travel is deliberate and low speed, which reduces certain risks. Refusing cars is a defining symbol of Amish identity. One commentator observed, "When people leave the Amish, the first thing they do is buy a car." By contrast, horse and buggy travel reinforces their distinct way of life. This mindset is reflected in Amish church rules, the Ordnung. All Old Order Amish affiliations ban members from owning or operating any motor vehicle, and even forbid getting a driver's license for personal use. In some of the more progressive Amish communities, notably the New Order Amish, teenage boys during Rumspringa, an adolescent wandering period, may temporarily own a car, but they must sell or stop using it upon baptism into the church. In extremely rare cases, an Amish person might be granted a license for a specific work need, for example, to drive a truck for a non-Amish employer. But such exceptions are unusual. Despite the car ban, Amish do allow certain forms of motorized transport in controlled ways. Tractors, farm machinery, and power tools are generally allowed only when tethered to work. For example, a tractor stays on the farm. Even riding lawnmowers or combines are discouraged except in the barnyard. Likewise, batteries for small devices, like buggy lights or cash registers, are permitted, as long as they are owning use, not tied to public electric grids. These selective uses of technology illustrate the Amish emphasis on mastering, not being mastered by, modern conveniences. The horse and buggy is the image most people have of the Amish, and it remains the principal way most Amish get around locally. Horses and buggies are the main means of transportation by the Amish, notes a Pennsylvania news report. Each Amish family typically owns one or more buggies. Fathers use them for farm and errands, and when teenage sons come of age, around 16, they often receive their own buggy for travel and courtship. Families also use buggies for Sunday church trips and communal events, especially when several members travel together. Amish horse-drawn buggies on a rural country road, with safety reflectors, triangles, and lights to meet highway regulations. Over many states, buggies must display slow-moving vehicle triangles, lights, or reflectors, so they are visible to traffic. Local laws have evolved. For example, a 2023 Virginia bill now requires a white light in front and red light in back on all animal-drawn vehicles. Nevertheless, these horse-drawn vehicles travel at walking speeds, keeping Amish residents close to their home communities. Buggies usually cover only short distances, often less than 10 miles round trip. If an errand or family visit is farther out, an Amish person might need to schedule alternate transportation in advance. In essence, the buggy enforces a slow pace of life. Trips are planned with care, not spur-of-the-moment highway drives. Buggy styles can vary. Closed-top black buggies are classic, but some Amish use open carriages or lighter carts, especially for children or quick errands. Color and features differ by church district. One group might use all black buggies, another yellow or gray. In every case, the buggy is engineered simply for function. No radio, heater, or technological frills are allowed, just horsepower. Beyond the horse-drawn buggy, Amish use various low-tech alternatives. For very short trips within a village or farmyard, Amish rely on their own feet. Walking is completely normal for distances too short to bother hitching a horse or saddling a bicycle. This echoes mainstream rural life of the 19th century. Many Amish communities allow bicycles as a convenient form of transport. Some regions, like Holmes County, Ohio, have a high concentration of bicycle use, while others, such as Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, use them less. Interestingly, in places where bicycles were historically viewed as too fast, Amish have long favored push scooters, basically foot-powered carts, because they require more exertion and travel more slowly than a bike. Today, both plain and motorized two-wheelers serve many Amish. Electric bicycles, e-bikes, are gaining popularity in several communities, since they cover ground faster than a horse or an old push scooter. For example, recent reports note that some Amish communities are adopting electric bicycles, e-bikes, for quick and efficient travel. By using battery assist, these e-bikes stay within the realm of modest technology, batteries, not public power, yet allow people to travel farther or tackle hills more easily. In addition to the classic buggy, Amish families may use lighter pony carts or wagons. Young children often ride in small carts, and families might use a farm wagon when moving goods. These are still horse-drawn and purely mechanical, fitting Amish norms. Most Amish are farmers or craftsmen. They do use some motorized machinery, but usually only on their own property. A tractor might power a sawmill or plow a field, but the same tractor normally cannot drive to town. Some communities permit tractors with steel wheels or no rubber tires to go to the barn, but not an all-purpose pickup. In practice, almost no Amish habitually ride tractors on public roads, precisely to avoid blurring the line between work equipment and personal transport. In some, Amish methods of moving around are designed to minimize technology's reach. Most daily travel is by animal power or muscle power. These methods keep people close and keep life simple. If Amish people cannot drive themselves, how do they travel beyond horse and buggy range? In practice, they frequently ride as passengers in motor vehicles driven by non-Amish people, often called English. This is explicitly allowed in most Amish affiliations. Members may ride in hired or borrowed vehicles, even though they won't own them. Families often pay a local driver to transport them for errands that exceed buggy distance, such as a 2-hour doctor's appointment or an out-of-state wedding. These drivers, sometimes called Amish taxi drivers, might use a van or large SUV, and are often licensed to transport passengers. Amish customers arrange rides by phone days in advance. In fact, one Pennsylvania newspaper describes Amish taxi service as a rural Uber, designed for long trips, with licensed drivers transporting Amish clients between states or to emergencies. Lancaster County alone had about 99 licensed Amish taxi drivers as of 2019. Not all communities embrace hired drivers equally. Some of the most conservative Amish forbid any car hire except in emergencies, choosing instead to use their buggies or public transit when possible. In general, though, paying for a ride is commonplace. Amish families may arrange that a non-Amish friend or worker drives them, or hire professional drivers. For group travel, large families, or church outings, it is common to rent a 12 or 15-passenger van. The entire family can pile into a van and go on vacation or to visit relatives, with a hired driver at the wheel. These vans are in effect the Amish solution to the large family size. They may be gas-guzzling and harder to drive, but they allow everyone, children and luggage, to travel together in one vehicle. Finally, public transportation plays a role. Trains and buses have historically been uncontroversial for the Amish because they are not about personal ownership. As one scholar notes, early 20th century public transit, ships, trolleys, trains, generated no controversy within Amish society. Today, many Amish continue to use trains and commercial buses for long-distance travel. For example, Amish might ride an Amtrak train to New York or Chicago, or take a Greyhound bus on cross-country trips. In Pennsylvania and Ohio, specially arranged coaches regularly shuttle Amish travelers to the large winter community in Pinecraft, Florida. Even air travel is not entirely forbidden, although most Amish shun airplanes as extravagant indeed. In an Amish FAQ, air travel is described as considered extravagant and worldly. Some Amish, notably certain New Order Amish, do occasionally fly if needed. In all these cases, the key is that the Amish person is riding along, not personally owning the vehicle. One Ohio Amish tourism guide explains, the philosophy is that while owning a car might separate the community, The Amish will accept rides or even pay for them to meet various transportation needs, such as travel to outside employment or for medical attention. By contrast, in mainstream North American life, the private automobile is taken for granted. Most American families own cars, drive to work and shopping every day, and plan social life around convenient auto travel. U.S. highways are designed for fast long-distance travel, and owning a car is seen as almost a necessity outside major cities. Americans love their cars for power, speed, and flexibility. The NPR excerpt notes that 20th century Americans fell in love with the car, with its power, speed, convenience, and control. By comparison, an Amish buggy with a horse averages only a few miles per hour. Amish plan travel very differently. A trip that might take 20 minutes by car could take an hour by buggy or require calling a driver for transport. Commuting by horse can be physically demanding and weather dependent, unlike clicking through traffic at 60 miles per hour. Because of these differences, travel norms in Amish country stand out. On rural roads, you'll see buggies and bicycles sharing space with pickup trucks and SUVs. In fact, Amish country safety initiatives, like requiring lights on buggies, reflect the tension between these worlds. Amish transportation habits also shape community layout. Amish settlements tend to be highly localized, with houses, farms, and a school within a short distance, whereas non-Amish neighbors might live miles apart by car. In short, where mainstream Americans use the car for nearly any trip, the Amish restrict motor vehicles to occasional situations and otherwise default to traditional modes. This difference can be surprising to outsiders. As the Fox News feature observes, many people believe all Amish communities are against electricity and technology for religious reasons, but that's not true for all members. Similarly, not all Amish uniformly forbid every transport technology. It's important to note that Amish is not monolithic. Old Order Amish, the largest group, adhere most strictly to the car ban. New Order Amish are only slightly more liberal. They may allow electric lighting, phone lines, or even occasional plane travel, but New Order communities still travel by horse and buggy. Beachy Amish, in contrast, are an offshoot group that often use motor vehicles freely. In fact, personal car ownership is normal for Beachy Amish. Despite the name, Beachy Amish are quite different in practice. They hold church in modern meeting houses and embrace much modern technology. Even within Old Order and New Order groups, local rules vary. Some Ohio and Pennsylvania districts drive buggies with yellow-tinted windows, integrated lights, or bicycles. Others forbid these as too worldly. A very conservative subgroup, the Schwarzentroober Amish, might have simpler buggies and forbid hire cars entirely, whereas a more progressive district might not only allow hiring drivers, but even permit a wired phone in the office. Geography also matters. Amish in rural Ohio or Indiana may be farther from cities, so they travel longer distances by hired van or bus than, say, an Amish village surrounded by town. Rumspringa is a notable exception. During this youth free-for-all, some Amish teens, typically ages 16 to 20, do drive cars or ride in them with peers. This is allowed by the church as a trial period of worldliness. However, if they choose to be baptized Amish, they must renounce car use entirely. Another exception is businesses. Occasionally, an Amish business will lease a car from a non-Amish friend or hire a commercial driver so that church members can travel for company errands or deliveries. Importantly, the car never becomes church property. The church still upholds the principle of not owning it. Finally, community needs can force innovation. For instance, as populations rise and farmland becomes scarce, some Amish have had to relocate to distant settlements. Long-distance travel across states is impossible by buggy, so Amish in those cases rely heavily on hired transport or mass transit to move families or attend inter-settlement events. Even in the most traditional settlements, if no public transport is available, some bishops allow riding in a car to reach a funeral or urgent appointment. But these are pragmatic accommodations, not changes in principle. The community still emphasizes that the default method remains local, non-motorized travel. In sum, the Amish ban on car ownership is a conscious communal choice aimed at safeguarding values of family, humility, and community cohesion. By contrast, mainstream society prioritizes speed and individual convenience in transportation. To achieve their goals, Amish people get around using horses, buggies, bicycles, and their own legs for short trips, and they enlist the motor age only indirectly, by riding with others or using approved public vehicles for longer journeys. These practices, horse-drawn buggies on country lanes, Amish cyclists on side streets, Amish families piling into rented vans for vacations, define Amish mobility. They may seem slow to outsiders, but they are deeply woven into how the Amish maintain their way of life. Every Amish community today navigates this balance, preserving a world without cars, yet still connecting to the wider world through careful compromises. As one Amish FAQ summarizes, the church's view is that, while owning a car might separate the community, They will accept rides to meet various transportation needs, reserving ownership for only those who have left the community. Thus, the horse-drawn buggy endures not just as quaint scenery, but as a powerful symbol of the Amish choice to live deliberately at a human pace.